The steppers step inside, take a seat, feel the magic in the air. Cards on the table, let the spirits take you there. Aeson's got the insight, Joe's teching up the show. Sip that truth, honey, let the mystic wisdom flow. Oh, ooh, it's the Sidekick Coffee Shop, where the vibes are high and the tea gets hot. Mystic minds with a little sass, talking life, the stars and shadows past. From tarot spreads to future sights, we're spilling secrets left and right. So grab your cup, let's take a ride on this cosmic caffeinated guide. Yun, ooh, it's the Sidekick Coffee Shop.
Good evening and welcome to Psychic Coffee Shop. I'm Aeson Knight, and of course I'm sitting down with Lillian Forna, who's got a new book that is making waves. Now, this is your second book, right?
Let's see. That's my very first book, but I have other books and a lot of
You have other ones out,
project,
titles like The
etc.
Four Centaurs. It's a series of coloring books, which is quite fun, y'all. And I know your description says children. I'm sorry, the adults are taking over the crayons. We are back into coloring and releasing our mind. So how have you been, honey? I think we've ran into each other in a few circles. So what you up to?
Well, just fantastic.
Wonderful.
Fantastic, and dealing with everything that is around us that is less fantastic, but with as much positivity as possible.
Right.
And that's what I try to convey when I write blogs, to help people go through times that are less than perfect, and try to inspire them to put their mind elsewhere. And
and I think a lot of us get really trapped in the delusional pounding of negative crap, and it's like, take care of your little bubble. What's your perspective there? Should we be worrying about the huge bubble, or we just need to worry about our little pod bubble?
Well, I think there will always be negativity around us. Right now, a bit more than usual, but we have the choice on how we approach what's around us. And I choose to try to find silver lining wherever I can, and try to help people do the same, because we can't let the outside world crush us, and we can't function anymore. I have lots of things I want to do, books, etc., where I want to inspire people. I can't let that really bury me.
Yeah, and it's really hard sometimes, and that's where you have to turn out. And people don't get this, or at least in my perspective, they don't get this, is, you have to drown out that negative noise. And I don't remember where I saw it. It was a photo this artist took of this beautiful dandelion in the middle of a sidewalk, and all you saw was concrete everywhere around her. And there was just this little dandelion just growing there. And it's like, everything may be bleak around you, but you have to be the candle in the light and in the darkness.
Yeah, but sometimes it's interesting. I wrote actually 4 blogs that address this type of situation. One is called Hope in the Midst of Chaos. The other one, Rising Above Chaos, Finding Calm in Uncertain Times. The other one is Love, the Antidote to Hate. And the fourth one is When Patriotism is Misused. So with each one of them, I try to approach things as positively as possible to help people go through the difficult times we're going through now. We can't deny that. It's not easy. So that's what I try to do. And people can go on my blog. If they go to my website, they will see all my blogs, so they can read them.
Right. And that's Wink from Above. And I'm going to go ahead and just post a direct link to your blog, because it is full of information and lovely articles, So your new book is out. It's doing a lot, isn't it? It's kind of like in the perfect timing. And I like your viewpoint on it.
Well, we have a lot more strength than we think we do. And
Yes.
that's what we have to try to find again within us.
Mm-hmm.
I'm writing actually right now a book that deals with wars.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a historical memoir based on my family. And it
Mm-hmm.
started in 1898. So it goes through World War One, World War Two, the Vietnamese War, even the Bolshevik Revolution caused some bad situations for my family in France because at that time a lot of people had money placed in Russian banks, a
Right.
lot of money. And
Yeah.
when the Bolshevik came, that was, they lost everything. So,
What
anyway,
money?
I'm writing that book
Mm-hmm.
because in my family, a few women sunk. I mean, it was especially one. And
Right.
then there are also some women who became so strong, much better, more extraordinary than they would have been without that
Mm-hmm.
adversity. So this
Right.
is what I want to study, and my family will be a case because I have a lot of stories that I can tell.
Mm-hmm.
And but I think it will be important for a lot of people who are dealing with this type of things now, because
Yeah,
it's not,
especially
yeah.
during the 1890s, because that was a very tumultuous time. I mean, we're living in a tumultuous time right now. However, I would go 1883 to early 1901. Like the events that occurred there, especially in Europe. We have the Bolshevik War. We have um, the Romanians' freedom. Like there was a lot of things that popped off. Then people were like questioning the whole direction of their life at that time. Very much like this. Now, are you starting to see synchronicities as you're looking at this? What 200-year span?
I might. I haven't gone there yet.
Okay.
What I'm doing, when I decided to write that book that was a few decades ago, I did not go on because too many people were still alive in my family, and I didn't want
Right.
to shed some negativity on some of them.
Right.
But I taped, recorded many of my family members, asking them questions, and have
Mm-hmm.
hours of recording with
Mm-hmm.
the way they think, the way they thought of the other members they didn't
Right.
like, what happened, etc. So that will help a lot.
Right.
And I want to have a political and historical background
Mm-hmm.
because that will be very important. So it's a lot of work,
It
but
is.
it will be. I started that when I was 30 years ago. I went back to the university, and I was going to write a book, a paper on the treatment of the Vietnamese members who returned to America, and not the American
Right.
soldiers who returned to America, and the French soldiers who returned to France, how they were treated. Political
Mm-hmm.
background was different, so it interests me. My father sent me a lot of details,
Mm-hmm.
and I never got it. I mean, it took so long that 5 days before the paper was due, I told the professor, I said, I don't have anything, but I have an idea. And I started to write about how wars affect people, especially
Right.
civilians.
Right.
So he loved it. I wrote my paper. He was very impressed by it. And he said, I have a book in me, but at the time
You.
I did not want to write about the people who were still
Right.
alive because some was not too, it would have been too nice. So I
Well.
waited, but now everybody's
Right.
gone. So I have the
Exactly. And a
freedom to
lot
do
of
it.
authors a lot of books are having to wait for people to take the train out of here because they don't want to start a war. within the family or share family stuff. But also, it's understanding the climates of the times too. That's so difficult. So I can completely understand that decision.
Yeah, and I would not say things that are bad because that's
Right.
not my style. But I have to be frank and tell what happened. And
Right.
sometimes it's not true, but I can't hide it. It's part of the story. So
Right.
I did not want to go there. Now I feel free. I will
Hmm.
steal my words because I don't like to be nasty. That's not my style. But
Right. And
I want to be truthful, and I
right.
can be
And
now.
right. And you can be, and people won't feel like, oh, I've been called out, or oh, you only told the bad. It's like you have to tell it all. You have to tell the full history,
Yeah, yeah,
and look at all
exactly.
the implications.
Yeah,
So let's
exactly.
talk
So
about your current one.
the wings from above.
Yes, Wings from
Yeah.
Above.
Oh, that was exciting. Actually, I started to think about it when I was very very sick a few years back. I had a tumor in my sinus cavity. It was
Hmm.
growing so much that it was starting to grow into my upper palate.
Ooh.
And I saw doctors here for about almost 2 months, 2 years, and nobody would ever tell me what I had. And the only thing they said, oh, we have to make a hole in your palate to do a probe, um, and then we'll put a removable plug. No way. I mean,
No, no
this
way.
was ridiculous. Until the last doctor I saw said to me without even looking at me, looked at my chart in the computer, said, oh, in your case, we have to open here from the corner of the eye down to the middle of the nose. Here, we pull everything and we remove the bone. I was so shocked. I didn't know what to say. But you know
Hmm.
what? This was perfect because suddenly I was back. I was so mad. I said, girl, you're going to face it, and you're going to face it standing. And
Hmm.
suddenly, the sign synchronicity I had not received for a long time because I was
Right.
depressed.
Hmm.
Suddenly, it came back. And very soon, 2 weeks later, I had an appointment in Europe. I went back to Europe for treatment.
Hmm.
I found a perfect doctor who created a surgery for me because that had never been done. And 6 months later, surgery was done, no, no disfiguration,
Right.
perfect. So
Hmm.
during my time at the hospital, I had, of course, plenty of time to think because I couldn't eat. So I had the tube going
Right.
into my stomach. And I said, girl, you're lucky. But why? And I started to analyze and realize that throughout my life, I had been what I call lucky. Actually,
Hmm.
I had signs coming my way and I would
Right.
use them. So I started writing,
Hmm.
and suddenly I had so much. I said, "Oh my God, that's a book." But how do I do that? So that's when I started, and it's a
Hmm.
book. Of course, I tell a story because I have to explain why I'm the way I am now. But a lot of the stories people can relate to, I think,
Hmm.
even though they're different. But still, people say, "Oh, I had something like that too," and they realize that I'm not special.
Hmm.
Everybody has that. And
Right.
because of that, I want to help people, tell them, third part of the book, I tell people what to do in order to
Hmm.
develop or reopen, not develop, reopen, because children have that. Children are
Right.
connected. But reopen the channels and
Hmm.
suddenly get so much more out of life
Hmm.
than we do otherwise. So that's why I wrote that book in order to help. And there is with it um, an action guide with it.
Okay.
You just look inside the book and you will see it's free, it's on the internet. So as you go through your life or memories
Hmm.
come up, just write down in that notebook,
Right.
and you will see at the end suddenly you have, oh my God, I had all these things happening in my life,
Right.
and hopefully then I can help people to
Hmm.
help themselves.
Right. And you can bring your, and they can start working a lot of the same alignments. Now, you take on angels and guides. What's your theory on those?
Oh, the the angels and guide. Okay.
Yeah.
there is a difference between the two. Angels and guides are both loving and benevolent entities who support us from the other side of the veil, but
Right.
they are different. The angels are divine messengers who have never
Mm-hmm.
incarnated. They are with us from the beginning, offering
Mm-hmm.
comfort, protection, and unconditional love. Spirit guides, on the other hand, are wise souls, many of whom have walked the earth. They may be
Mm-hmm.
ancestors, mentors, or other beings who gently help us navigate life's challenges. And
Right.
some even come come to us through nature.
Mm-hmm.
They appear in the form of animals like dog, cats, and other creatures.
Mm-hmm.
And all these can be messengers. And I'll give you, for instance, an example.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a little girl, because I'm half white and half Asian, and I was raised in a small seacoast village in Brittany when I was young, until
Mm-hmm.
I was 9. So I was going to school with people who looked differently from me, especially in summer, because I get very tan.
Mm-hmm.
So oftentimes I would arrive in school or on the way to school, and I was bullied. So I remember very fondly. There was a dog. We didn't own a dog, but there was a dog from the village. He actually belonged to the priest of the village. He would
Mm-hmm.
come to my door at the bottom of the house in the garden.
Mm-hmm.
He would come to the door and bark when it was time to go.
Mm-hmm.
How did he know it was time to go? And he would escort me.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't want to play or anything. He had a job to do, it seems like.
Right.
And then at the end of the school in the afternoon, he was at the gate waiting for me, and he took me back home.
How
How do you
cool.
explain that? You know,
Right.
it seemed normal at the time. It's later on, when I was an adult, I said, this was strange. How did he know at what time to pick me up, in the
Right.
morning and in the afternoon? And then he didn't want to play. It was just he had a job to do, and he was trotting
Exactly.
beside me. But I was not bullied.
How wonderful.
Yeah, so that was one thing. I have so many other stories.
Mm-hmm.
When the guides intervene. Another one, when I was a very young woman, I was in Paris, and in the subway, it was very packed. So my friend and I were holding the pole, you know,
Mm-hmm.
to keep our balance. And I arrived at my station. I put my hand on my little bag, and my little bag was totally flat. I knew there was nothing in it. My wallet
Mm-hmm.
was gone. And I didn't think. I just turned around, picked up the arm of one person. The person turned around. I went to the other person, grabbed the arm, quite violently, I would say.
Uh-huh.
That person turned around and had my wallet.
Mm.
How do we explain that? So I went outside,
Right.
and I
Right.
was holding my wallet, looking like a dummy, because and the thugs were looking at me totally shocked as well. I have no
Right.
clue what happened. It's later on I said I was guided, because
Mm-hmm.
everything happened behind me. They picked my thing. I
Right.
turned and got my. So many things like that happen that we can't explain, and I
Mm-hmm.
encourage your audience interested in the book to just look into their lives. They'll be amazed by the
Right.
things they realize happened to them, and they can't explain. It just,
Mm-hmm.
why
I
did that
like your
happen?
theory about it because, they tend to paint a picture, other people, that like guides sit around on a cloud and just go, oh, it'll be okay, honey. It'll be okay, honey. It's like, no, they don't. They're busy, they're with us all the time. And I don't think that people really get that that on the other side, when we're making our contract or planning our trip here or whatever, that we choose our guides, we choose our angels, and they are with us always. They might not be at work that day. I mean, I'm not doing healings, so I don't need my guide that helps me with healings.
No,
but they're
but
always there.
they're always there, and it's they have helped throughout the
Hmm.
life, but you did not
Right.
realize. Another thing that came back to me is I drowned when I was a child because I
Hmm.
lived
Water.
by the ocean, so I would go on the
Hmm.
rock, and I didn't know how to swim, and probably because of the seaweeds, I just
Hmm.
slipped, and I remember I still have that vision of going down and up. I still
Hmm.
remember that. And then what I do typically, because I want to tell the truth, or
Hmm.
to be as accurate as possible, at night around 3:30 I wake up.
Hmm.
That's a good time to communicate. Everything is quiet,
Hmm.
and I ask questions so that the
Hmm.
answers do not always come to me, but oftentimes they do.
Hmm.
And in that case, I wanted to revisit that episode.
Hmm.
And it was interesting because as I revisited, I could feel, I mean, no, first of all, I was like outside, an outsider looking at a scene
Right.
where a child had been pulled out of the water by a man dressed in black. And
Hmm.
that man was holding the child upside down.
Hmm.
That's when I felt I was throwing up.
Uh-huh.
And I opened my eyes. Nobody was there.
Hmm.
Yet I did not drown. So
Right.
how do you explain these type of things? It could be one of my guardians or my guardian angel,
Right.
you know?
And I'm glad that you said he was dressed in black, because can we fix something real fast? Angels do not have big, floaty wings and wear garb from the 3rd century. They've updated their style like we have.
Yeah, and I have so many other stories where I'm certain
Hmm.
it's an angel, but they're dressed like normal people. My guides as well are dressed as normal people, and typically it's an old man. My main guide is an old man, very
Hmm.
tall, slender, very wrinkled face, always dressed very dapper,
Hmm.
also in black. One time, though, I asked, "Was it you?" Because the scene was, or what happened was very
Right.
familiar. I said, "Yes, it was me." I said, "But you were dressed in white."
Hmm.
And he said, "No, you were dressed in black." And he said, "Well, it would have been strange at that time of the year to be dressed in white."
Hmm.
Logic like that, which makes sense. So
Right.
I could talk with them. I don't
Yeah.
see them. I can feel them and sense their presence.
Right.
But it's
And
it's always so comforting.
exactly. And people get so confused on these factors, and it's like they can change their clothes just like we can change our clothes. They can change their look just like we change our look. They can be a tall, thin, older man in black today, and tomorrow they feel like being a cat. So they'll be a tabby cat.
Well, oftentimes animal came to my rescue, and
Hmm. Yeah.
mostly dogs, I would say. But
Most guides
cat.
prefer dogs because they're more commanding to them. Like people pay more attention to a dog than they do a cat.
Although I have something interesting to tell you, I'm a shaman I worked with when he was
Hmm.
cleaning a person, from entities and
Right.
so forth. His cat would sit behind that person, away, but behind.
Hmm.
And as he was doing the work, the
Uh
cat
huh.
was there.
Uh
And
huh.
when it was done, he felt that the entity was gone, the cat could go. So it
Right.
was very interesting. He could
Yeah.
confirm what he felt, that it was done.
Oh, honey, I
So
used to have a cat that was my secretary.
tell me.
I mean, yeah. Catherine, she lived in my office. That was her room. And if I was needed on the network, was scheduled on the network, or had a client call, she would come and like smack me. Like if I was asleep, like I never overslept with her because she's like, oh, claw out, smack, get up. And she literally lived on my desk for her time with me.
Well, I had a cat actually. I had like a little shelf behind my
Hmm.
computer,
Uh huh.
and she would sit on that shelf So the
Uh-huh.
tail was at the level of my computer. She would drop her tail down and when it meant I have to stop with the computer and pay attention to her.
Right.
But it was
Yeah.
funny, that thing on the screen.
Uh-huh. Very. It's
Oh,
the animals are so connected to us, and they tend to do a lot of things. They are great sign bringers, and they tend, there's a lot of mythos and theories about what certain animals mean and what you see and how that is. Did you find any synchronicities there or common threads
with what?
with animals? And like, if you see a black cat comes to your home, new luck is coming to you, or different things.
Not so much with birds. With birds,
Right.
yes. With birds, certain colors, etc.
Hmm.
Yes, with birds. But um, dogs to me are protector. They've been protecting me
Right.
since I was a little child because I needed
Right.
that, or gave me the affection I didn't get as a child. So they
Hmm.
were there for me. Cats, yeah, cats were nice, but cats are different. They are their
Right.
own, and they have their own personality, and they couldn't care less sometimes. But
Right.
dogs are there with you, and they'll give you the love you need, the attention,
Hmm.
and the protection as well.
They do.
I have a story, touching story of a dog who was my good friend. Didn't belong to us again. He belonged to a neighbor, and she was drinking too much. So most of the time he was roaming around, and we would play a
Hmm.
lot. He would come visit me almost every day. And one time I did not see him for a few days, and I was worried. So I walked to his house, and I saw in front of the front door, um, that's where he was tied up.
Hmm.
But he didn't move. Normally, he would have run towards me,
Hmm.
uh, or at least shown that he saw me. No, I
Right.
approached him, and he was very, very scrawny. One rib was sticking out.
Hmm.
He had been beaten, obviously. A
Ooh.
few days later, I was in my house and I heard a howling. I looked, and on the road uh,
Hmm.
that I could see, uh, there was that dog. And
Uh-huh.
then I ran downstairs, went through the garden, tried to reach him, and he was gone. And
Hmm.
the next day or a couple of days later, somebody said he found him dead by a pond in the woods. So
Hmm.
to me, he came to say goodbye. See,
Yeah.
that was very touching. And
Yeah.
he went to die at a place where we would go quite often.
Right.
So anyway, that was. I still think about him often, and it was so sad to see him that way. But he came to say goodbye, so it's
Right. And they tend to do that. Like they know when it's their time.
yeah, it's very touching.
Yeah.
But anyway, all these animals bring back so much memories of my
Oh, they
childhood,
do.
and what helps is that instead of looking at my early childhood as a time of pain because I was always punished, beaten, like
Hmm.
punished, I couldn't have food or whatever. Um, but I had animals and I had
Hmm.
nature, and that's
Hmm.
what sustained me throughout all these years. And at
Right.
the time, when you're a child, you can't compare. You can't. I had no contact with other people mostly. So
Right.
if you can't compare yourself, you're not suffering. You just take things as they come.
Hmm.
But if when I was in nature, I could talk to trees, I could talk to the water, to the clouds,
Hmm.
etc., and I felt they were responding to me.
Right.
And it was really nice. I don't remember feeling alone because I had all
Good.
these around me. And I'm
Right.
trying to teach that to my granddaughter,
Hmm.
to be in touch and talk. Now she's petting bees. 2 days ago, she was petting a dragonfly. It was flying and she was touching the back, and the dragonfly was staying.
How old
But
is she?
she is going to be 7, but I started that when she was
Oh.
about 4. And
Hmm.
when she was 4, remember, she wanted to play in the yard, and it was a grassy area. And I said, well, yeah, just play there. And she said, no, I can't. Why? There is a sting bug. At that time, she was afraid of sting bugs. So I
Right.
said, oh, okay. Put your hands on your heart. Close your eyes. Now, do you see the sting bug in your mind? Mm-hmm. I said, now talk to the sting bug. Tell her that you understand it's her home, but you would love to play there, and she scares you. And then, as she was saying that, the sting bug was moving away.
Good.
So I said, oh, look at what's going on. Oh my God, it works. I
It
said, yes.
does.
And you know what? You can do that with almost anything. I can't tell you it will always work, but you can do that with almost anything you don't like or you would like to change. So I'm teaching
Hmm.
her that, to be
Yes.
in touch. And yes, as I said, now she brings me little frogs, and she was petting a bee the other day. And
Hmm.
okay, but I act like it's natural, because
Right.
if you do these type of things and you're pure, they're not going to react.
Right. And it's sometimes, especially with bees, because I always tell bees, go home. Like, go home. Like, leave me alone, go home. And they'll go and fly away most times. Except when, like, you need to get into their home because they've built it into the carpet. That's a whole different side of the story.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Although
But,
you have people, I have seen that you have people who can remove a beehive from a house, let's say.
hmm
So they are cold, and they will grab the bees by hand and
hmm
move them. So that's quite special. But yes, normal people can't do that.
not all people can do that. Not all people can get on their vibrational level to communicate, because like bees are they're a different frequency, and they're very much focused on their their queen and collecting food and raising children. Oh, this sounds like anybody else in life, and is finding that vibration. And then I don't care what the animal is. Sometimes they're like humans. They don't listen to you. They ain't going to listen to anyone.
But you are a psychic. You discovered that about 20, 25 years ago, right?
Right.
I read that on your.
Well, I can't. That's when I went professional. I started at like age 3, before we had caller ID. I would aggravate everyone with like, "Grandma's calling, dinner's on." Like, I knew what was happening in my own world. Now I probably couldn't read myself out of a paper bag, but I do get the precognition of major events. But a lot of that's because I'm helping my clients, and I'm, you know, working directly with my guides. Like my guide David, we work together 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it's a different connection than I find that a lot of people have with their guides, because it's like, you know, he's like my best work partner, about best work friend. But other people are like, oh, well, I can't, my guides don't tell me anything, or when they do, it's so cryptic, or it's so out there, and it's like, when did the last time you sit down and have coffee with them? And they're like, coffee with them? Yes, have coffee with them. Have a discussion with them.
And they can be funny. They have
Yeah,
a great sense of humor.
some do. Some are a little overstaunch. Like,
Yeah, but some do.
yeah, yeah. It depends on, like, Doc is very overstaunch, but when he was here, he worked in the medical profession. I go in to do Reiki, he's there as Doc, and it's like, focus on that knee. No, pivot your energy a little bit this way, that way. He's not going to sit there and go, so, the guy that was in here earlier, like, he's got a gambling problem, but he's probably going to hit the lottery in about a few months. You'll see him if you like. He's not like David that will gossip or talk to me throughout the time. He's there for his job, and he's out the door.
Yeah, they might change. You have one
Mm-hmm.
that is there with you all the time. For me,
Mm-hmm.
as I said, it's an old, very slender, very dapper
Mm-hmm.
old man that I
Mm-hmm.
found in America, or when I'm in France, when I'm traveling around the world. He's there sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
and and I look at that man, and I don't really think right away that's my guy, but what he says and what
Mm-hmm.
happens afterwards, I say, oh, it was you again,
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
when I decided to do color,
Mm-hmm.
but color analysis, not for fashion, which I have
Right.
done before, but for energy, the
Mm-hmm.
colors that are missing, etc. So I was interested in that as a healer, but I had not studied that. And I
Mm-hmm.
was in Chicago at the airport going back to Belgium, where I lived at the time in Brussels.
Mm-hmm.
And I was waiting in line, and I always dress quite colorful
Mm-hmm.
in summer, but very matching. And an old, very dapper dressed man in white this time uh, looked at me and was making all kinds of compliments. And normally I would have said, oh dear, just, oh God, stop.
Yeah.
But no, I felt there was something different.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about the color coordination, how lovely,
Mm-hmm.
etc. And that's something I had in mind. So when I arrived in Brussels, the next day I was reading the expatriate newspaper,
Right.
and there was an ad. A lady was going to do a seminar about color analysis, but
Mm-hmm.
for energy. I said, what? I
Right.
never saw that before. So I called
Mm-hmm.
her, and I was interested, but the dates were wrong because I was supposed to be in Portugal at that time. And I said, oh, when are you going to teach next time? She said, well, it's my first class. So, but I just put the ad, so I'm going to change the date so you can come. And
How
I took
interesting.
now, I have a certificate, I studied. How
Wonderful.
about that, starting in
Right.
Chicago? And again, I know it was my guide, just
Mm-hmm.
showing me, yeah, you have to do
Yeah.
it, and reinforcing the color coordination.
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah.
but this time it was for not for fashion, it was for energy. It was
Right.
fascinating, and it goes on and on.
Well, and that's also important too, and it kind of connects into multiple theories. Example, and try this theory sometime. Say you want your energy to be very hyper, so you wear a high vibrational color to affect that energy of hyperness. But if you want like very solemn, very quiet, then go lighter into your pastel palettes, into your or white. I mean, white in general will be a very calming, relaxive energy. So you can tie fashion into the energy that you want to connect to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's interesting sometimes I discover that a certain color is missing. So the
Mm-hmm.
person needs to add that at least temporarily
Right.
to the wardrobe or on the screen or whatever, the flowers.
Everywhere.
And so what I tell people, because sometimes I say, well, you're missing, let's say purple. Oh, I don't like that color. So I say, well, put some flowers in front of you, or maybe the screen
Mm-hmm.
temporarily, or wear underwear, you won't see them, but they're on your
Right.
skin,
Exactly. It
So
brings the
that's,
vibration.
yeah, you just need that to
Mm-hmm.
reestablish the right balance. So that's what I tell
Right.
people when I do their color. But it is fun. But I have so much fun with the guys. Remember one time, it must have been 4 or 5, no, probably 5 in the morning. My husband was getting up, and he saw that I was stirring.
Mm-hmm.
I write in the dark.
Right.
I learned to write in the dark. So he could see I was moving. So he just tapped my knee very lightly and said, would you like me to bring coffee? Well, I was elsewhere. So when that happened, it's like falling to earth. And I
Mm-hmm.
was screaming and crying. And, it took me a while to just get back to normal.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, I was talking with my guides.
Right.
Well, when finally everything was settled, I
Mm-hmm.
heard snickering from up there.
Mm-hmm.
Snickering. And then
Mm-hmm.
somebody said, it was a bit dramatic, wasn't it? I mean, I was so mad at the time.
Oh yes.
Afterwards, now I laugh at it, but I was not in the mood.
Uh-huh.
But it was so funny to hear that,
Oh yeah. David does that crap to me all the time. Like I'll be writing or working on a blog or doing something, and my husband or someone will come in and start yapping. And he's like, yeah, now you need to talk to them. It's quite rude when you just ignore them. And I'm like, what? I'm in the middle of, debating the symbolism of the moon and how it echoes through culture. And you're reminding me I need to be on both planes at the same time?
Oh God.
Yeah,
No, it is funny. It's so joyful
it
to be
is.
able to communicate, and that's why I encourage people. It's not something woo woo. We all have that,
Right.
and some people will call it God, some other
Hmm.
people will call that, and whatever, bodhisattva, whatever.
Right.
I simply call that my guide personally.
Right.
I respect my guides.
Hmm.
I yeah, I do respect,
Right.
but it's not religious. So some people might not
Right.
like it as much, but you can approach it in different ways. Like your angels, they are there for you, to
Right.
guide you, to help you. My husband, we were in Paris one time, and it was during the sales. I wanted some boots. I saw some little boots I loved. I said, oh, I
Uh-huh.
want to get them. But we were running out of cash and we didn't want to pay via credit card. So we needed to go to an ATM to get
Hmm.
more euros. So my
Hmm.
husband went to an ATM nearby. And
Hmm.
as he was doing, punching button, suddenly somebody came from his left side, bumped into him, which made him turn around, but he kept his hand on his card. And
Hmm.
then there were actually two guys. One was already behind him, putting his hand on
Hmm.
my husband's hand. But so there was a discussion, and it was
Hmm.
getting. It could have been violent. Suddenly, out of nowhere,
Hmm.
a young man showed up, and he said, "What's going on here?" And so the guys, well, the police is nearby. If you don't go, I'll call the police.
Hmm.
They left. And
Right.
then he came to my husband and said, check everything. Do you have everything? Everything turned off? And as my husband was doing that, he walked away and there was another street close by. He turned into that street and my husband said, "Oh," to thank him. So he ran after him, nowhere to
Yeah.
be found. And there was no shop or door to get in or anything.
Right.
So, yeah. So he
Yeah.
came back to the
That's an
store and
angel.
that's an angel, yeah. So I
Yeah.
said, yep,
Yep.
my guardian angel talked to your guardian angel. I needed of shoes. So
Exactly.
we make fun. We make fun
Well,
of
you
that.
should
But
make fun of it because it is hilarious. But something that people don't get is unless you're in a situation like angels cannot go and get you a new car. That is not their department. They
mm-mm,
don't go car shopping for you.
mm-mm.
You know, they normally don't intercede in your life in any major direction unless it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah, and it's dangerous like that. I had one, I was in Venice,
Uh
and I
huh.
went to an area that was not too touristy, but I was interested to visit because we lived not too far from
Mm-hmm.
there for 2 years. So I wanted to see what it was. It's called the
Mm-hmm.
Arsenal. And as I was walking, it was very deserted. Suddenly tap on my arm. It was
Mm-hmm.
an old man, not tall this time, but a very old man, dressed in black, very dapper. And he said,
Mm-hmm.
it's dangerous here. You need to go back to the center. And he grabbed my arm to guide me away.
Mm-hmm.
And we were not far from the center.
Mm-hmm.
And I turned around and he was gone. I was going to say
Mm-hmm.
thank you, but he was gone.
Mm-hmm.
Choop, just gone.
Yep.
But
Into the other side. Now,
yeah,
I'm noticing a theme with your appearances of being older men. Now, do you think that is mainly from the respect that you were taught as a child, or your heritage, or how your brain functions to put them in there?
I just don't know. I'm sure there were other like the dogs, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But as an adult, I noticed each time something like that happened, and I have many instances, it was always a man, very slender, quite wrinkled, but very energetic at the same time,
Right.
with a very educated voice. It was so strange. One time in Paris, I went into a taxi. I had to go back to Brussels, and I had my suitcase. So in front of the hotel, I called that taxi. A very old man came out, very old. I said, "What? He shouldn't be driving." But he lifted my suitcase with no problem. He moved very well, sat down and started to talk to me, but more like a university professor. I mean, the type of voice, the language. And I had taken a seminar for the whole weekend on intuition, etc. And he started to talk about that to me. I did not start the conversation. And it was a very beautiful voice, very melodious. And he explained to me, I have to take another road because there is an accident. And I thought, oh, well, he needs more money, so he will take a longer route. But I had the time to catch my train. So indeed, he took another road. What was surprising me in the taxi is he was looking at me through the rearview mirror more than he looked at the road in front of him. And that was, sometimes this is weird, Then we arrived at the train station. He pulled my suitcase again with very great ease, shook my hand, took my hand in both hands, looked at me very deeply in the eyes and said, "We'll meet again." So I called my shaman. I said, "This is what happened." I said, "You don't get it." It was to reinforce what you have been studying the whole weekend. But things like that happen, and it's so strange and beautiful in many ways. So I wish for other people to notice all these interesting, fascinating things that happen to us when we have our eyes open.
Now, have you looked at the aspect from the Asian traditionalist view on that?
The traditional view?
Yeah, the Asian view on guides and angels.
They have the bodhisattvas. They have the bodhisattvas, and Kuan Yin is one of my favorite. Kuan Yin.
Love Kuan Yin.
Kuan Yin here, Kuan Yin.
She's over there.
Representation of her on her dragon. That's her vehicle.
Yes.
It's very heavy. That's bronze.
Yes.
There. So Kuan Yin, I have a lot of others, but I love Kuan Yin very, very much. Kuan Yin in Japan where I lived, but Kuan Yin in Tibet and in Vietnam as well. But I love
I hadn't heard that she had expanded to Vietnam.
Yeah,
Vietnam. Interesting.
And sometimes in Vietnam, to them, because of course the French were there for a long time, so they almost consider her a little bit like the Virgin Mary because of the compassion and the tenderness she gives, etc. So they put her sometimes at that level, but it's definitely for them more a female figure. Japan, no. And many other countries, no, it's a bodhisattva. It's not a female nor male. But in Vietnam, it's more considered female. So, yeah, it's...
And those two archetypes are very closely connected.
The what?
The two archetypes, the Kuan Yin and the Virgin Mary, they get very closely connected in their mythos.
Yeah. And I must have a Virgin Mary. Or in my shelf, I have Buddha, I have Saint Michael. Saint Michael is my guardian angel. I have all kinds of things that are mixed. To me, they are symbols. They're symbols, and that's how I see them, like Kuan Yin. I have the green Tara in my living room, also for purity, when my feet are a little bit less than pure.
It happens.
Help me. Yeah, especially nowadays. Help me. I need help.
Yes, like, can you please, quiet the brain and get me out of the spectrum?
And I love
Hmm.
Ganesh, of course. Ganesh, I have a big Ganesh also in my
Oh,
living. Oh,
gorgeous. Make sure to
yeah.
give him coins. If you
Coin?
have yes, give him silver.
Okay, okay. Well, I put little flowers, I
Uh-huh.
put incense, I do all kinds of things,
Yes.
to make
Yeah.
sure he's. But this house where I live actually was built by a young professor, Indian professor,
Hmm.
and before it was finished, his parents wanted this house to be consecrated like they would do in
Hmm.
India. So it's consecrated to Ganesh.
Oh,
And
goodness.
that's another sign. We visited the house
Right.
when he was still here,
Hmm.
and I saw a big Ganesh on the wall. I said, "Oh,
Hmm.
Ganesh." So he explained to me that this house here was
Right.
consecrated. And I said, "Oh, well, I have a beautiful bronze Ganesh, and it
Uh-huh.
will feel very happy." So,
Uh-huh.
that was another synchronicity.
Yeah. I always feed mine 9 American quarters. But
What did
I always give my Garnesh 9 American quarters. He-
non-American?
he-
Okay, okay.
yeah,
That's
so
what.
you'll have to, because that's the amount. That's a good amount of silver, and he keeps the house clean and
Oh,
positive
okay.
energy.
So nine
Yeah,
American quart.
yeah, quarters.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. A
So
quarter.
you'll have
Yeah.
to translate the currency value there of the silver, but always 9, never more, because you give him more, he just looks at you like, "What do you want me to do with this?" He gets
Nine.
too
Okay.
distracted. Yes.
Okay. Oh, thank you for the tip. That's great.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, I have all these things all around the
Oh
house
yeah.
because I go from one place to the other. It's a reminder I'm surrounded
Hmm.
by strength, by beauty. I'm
Hmm.
protected, etc. And I can talk to them. You know.
Yeah.
So I even have Jesus here.
Yeah.
Because Jesus is not the religion that was created after Jesus. Jesus as a prophet is really, I love the words that he says as well.
Well, and I think that's a great point to touch on. Spirituality and religion cross lines a lot of times.
Hmm.
What we do with it, however, is not always what there is.
No. Well, it's been kidnapped basically
Yes.
by humans
Hmm.
to gain power
Hmm.
and to subjugate people below
Hmm.
them in many cases.
Exactly.
Not always. You have people with a very good heart, but most of the time that's not the way it is.
Very much so. Very much so. All right, well, darling, tell them where they can find everything about you, your website, like how can, like for our audience that isn't seeing our videos, that hears it.
The what?
What's your web address?
Oh, my web address, um, www dot Liliane Fortna, LILIANEFORTNA.com.
Okay.
That's my general website. And from
Mm-hmm.
there, those interested can go to my blogs.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to write at least one a month. But lately, I've been writing more about what's going on.
Right.
The next one I'm writing now is about skin color. It's very, there is a certain irony to the fact that a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people who are against people who have or
Right.
criticize people with a darker complexion spend a lot of money and time in tanning booths. I find that
Right.
quite funny, actually, when you think of
Well,
it.
I find it
Why?
hilarious because you have people that do that. But if you go back 200 years, like they were putting bleach on their skin to lighten it because they didn't want to look like they were out in the sun working.
But it's still the same in Asia.
Yeah.
My mother, for instance, would never go in the sun. She had a beautiful, more olive type skin, but it was
Hmm.
spotless. Even when she died, I remember at the hospital, I was massaging her legs, and she was in her late 80s, And I was amazed by the beauty of the skin on her legs.
Yeah.
But she never went to the sun because you go to Vietnam or so, girls on a motorcycle, everything will be heavily covered.
Yeah.
So it's still pretty, and it's smart in many ways. It's
Right.
smart. I don't do that. I don't burn, so I don't really care. But it's smart what they do because it does protect the skin.
It does protect the skin, but it's that question of beauty. Like in the Americas, the darker the more tan you are, the more affluent you are. The more, but in Asia, it's the exact opposite. How interesting.
But what's funny is that some people will pay a lot of money to get that very dark complexion when they criticize people with a darker complexion. So
I know. It's
I'm going to, that's my next vlog I'm preparing because there is irony right there.
My favorite is the White Horse Messenger of your latest creations.
The what?
I'll get the right name for it. It's the one about your white horse.
Oh, you read it?
Yes, darling.
Oh, my mother. Yeah, that was my mother. Yeah, that was so strange. That was so strange because, yeah, indeed, after I left, we had a meeting with shaman. There was an evening, one of the shaman had birthday, so we went in the woods, and several shaman without talking to one another. Oh, there is a horse, white horse behind you. There is a white horse. What? And it took me 1 year to realize what was going on because I thought my mother was the sign of the tiger. See, I did not know her well. I met her when I was 47, so I didn't grow up with her.
Right.
And it's only a year later when I was with my half brother, I told him the story. He said, but she's a horse. Oh, okay. So suddenly I understood why. And throughout the year, horse here or there, even a table that I brought back from her house, I discovered at the last minute there are 2 horses hatched inside the wood.
Oh,
I mean, it's so interesting sometimes. But
well, darling, it's been great having coffee with you. Please come back when your next book comes in, and we will be back in just. Excuse me.
Ooh, bless you. Bless you, bless
See you
you.
later,
Bless you.
darling. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I mean, it was a delightful conversation.
Love to have a good conversation. Would love to have you back again, darling.
Oh, thank you so much.
Love diving into metaphysical topics, psychic insights, and lively discussions? Now you can help keep the conversation going. By becoming a Patreon supporter of The Psychic Coffee Shop, you'll gain access to exclusive content, behind-the-scenes insights, and special perks just for our patrons. Join our community and ensure that your favorite psychic show continues to thrive. Your support helps us bring more enlightening episodes, special guests, and deep dives into the world of the unseen. Become a patron today and enjoy a cup of wisdom with us every week. Click the link to join the baristas and unlock exclusive content. Thank you for your support.
Unlock your full potential with Aeson Knight's life coaching. Are you ready to take control of your life and manifest the future you deserve? Aeson Knight, a seasoned life coach and master psychic, is here to guide you on a transformative journey. Whether you're navigating personal challenges, career transitions, or seeking spiritual growth, Aeson's life coaching services offer tailored guidance to help you achieve your goals. With Aeson by your side, you'll discover the tools to overcome obstacles, embrace your true self, and create a life filled with purpose and fulfillment. His unique blend of spiritual insight and practical coaching empowers you to turn your dreams into reality. Ready to make a change? Book your session today and start your journey to a more empowered, balanced, and joyful life with Aeson Knight. Click the link to schedule your first session and step into your power.
Are you ready for an electrifying podcast experience that keeps you coming back for more? Join Aeson Knight every week as he takes you on a journey through captivating shows, each exploring unique and fascinating topics. And here's the best part. By subscribing, you'll never miss an episode where you can get your burning questions answered live on air, absolutely free. Whether it's relationship advice, career guidance, or mystical insights, Aeson's podcasts have got you covered. When you subscribe, you become part of a vibrant community, engaging directly with Aeson as he shares his wisdom and leaves you feeling empowered and enlightened. Don't miss out. Subscribe now and be part of the conversation. What you'll get by subscribing: Monday 5 p.m. Metaphysics. Today, soulful conversations with Aeson Knight and Firefly, exploring the essence of metaphysics in today's world. Tuesday 8 p.m. The Psychic Coffee Shop. Dive into current events with a psychic twist, featuring special guests and thought-provoking discussions. Friday 9 p.m. The Mountain Bears Podcast. Lively discussions from a gayish, techie-ish, bearish perspective with Aeson and Joe. Sunday 5 p.m. Psychic That Plans. Get a weekly tarot energy overview and time management tips from Aeson Knight. Click here to subscribe now and never miss an episode. By subscribing, you're not just tuning in, you're joining a community of curious minds and ensuring you're always in the loop with Aeson's insightful and interactive shows. Don't wait. Hit that subscribe button and get ready for an amazing podcast journey.
Ready for an enchanting journey of self-discovery? Join Lord Aeson Knight in our Wicca courses. Unveil the secrets of Wicca. Explore deity relationships, rituals, and more. As a third-degree high priest, Aeson Knight guides you toward empowerment and enlightenment. Enroll today and take your first step into the magical circle. Click the link to begin your journey.
Psychic Saturday. Get 50% off with Aeson Knight every third Saturday of the month. Don't miss out. Book now.
All right. Hello, darling. How are you?
Doing well. How about you?
Oh, doing well, doing well. Had a lovely conversation. It's going to be a very busy week here. We're going to have 2 psychic coffee shops. Now, tomorrow night, I just have a direct interview. We won't be doing Are You the Asshole? But, it gets busy.
It does. It does.
It does. All right, so let's dig into it. Plead your case.
Am I the asshole for refusing to do yard work in a heat wave? I, female, late 20s, still live at home because who can afford to live on their own? Anyway, I feel like I do my fair share, but we're currently in a heat wave, and my parents decided it would be the perfect weekend to pressure wash the entire property. I was out there for probably 5 hours on Saturday and ended up with mild heat exhaustion. I'm also on SSRIs, which I learned recently can cause overheating and dehydration. After I was done on Saturday, I made it clear that I wasn't feeling well and wouldn't be going back out on Sunday when it would be 91 degrees. I thought that was understood until my father called me on Sunday furious that I wasn't outside helping him. I told him I already said I can't be out there in the heat again and that he shouldn't be either. He's not usually one to hold a grudge, but he hasn't even looked at me since Sunday. I know I should have been out there helping him, but honestly, why did they choose to do this during a heat wave? Am I really that big of an asshole for listening to my body and choosing not to suffer? Edit to add, I didn't outright refuse to do the work at all. In fact, I offered to do it this coming weekend, but I don't understand why it had to be done in 90+ degree heat. That's my problem. Edit to add too, it's 101 today and he's out there again. Maybe the answer is that he's insane?
Not the asshole, but on the same page of that, the heat affects people differently when you're on SSRI.
SSRIs.
The other side of that is that you've got to understand where things are going on at the time. Older people he may not have that condition. He may be used to the heat. It's very much like yesterday. You were toast. I was like, I need out of this. And it's the different bodies. Different people handle heat differently.
well, different bodies, different medications, different like things going on. There is that. However, I would caution.
Right.
There are some serious considerations to be had when we get over 90 degrees.
Yeah.
In terms of, even if you are used to the heat, even if you know are older and maybe the heat feels good, that's sometimes actually one of the bigger problems you can have, especially with people who are older, that may be on medications, that may be in different situations like having arthritis. Is sometimes that heat feels really good. It doesn't mean it's any less dangerous. It
Right.
doesn't mean they're at any and often are more likely to be dehydrated. And sometimes that can actually be at a point in which you don't know anything's wrong until it becomes tragically wrong.
Right.
Because it's not going to feel bad.
Right.
It's going to be a very sad. I'm going with not the asshole. I don't know what has inspired this sudden desire to go out in the heat wave and do the yard work. I personally, if you're going to do that, I work in the late evenings.
Work at night.
Work in the early mornings. Like if your father were calling you at like 5 a.m. on Saturday or Sunday morning and like, let's go, and you're going to work till like 10, that makes sense to me.
Right.
Like, get it done, get it early. It's warm, but between 11 and 4, are you trying to die?
No, that's a perfect time to sleep.
Yeah, that's sleepy time. That's indoor time. That's have a nice, movie family time. That is not yard work time.
No,
not at all.
Right.
So,
and you might want to do that is like, because like a lot of times before we had air conditioning, we would rotate our schedules to sleep during the hottest times of the day and work during the night.
Yeah, I've done that before as well.
Yep.
But even like right now, because we're experiencing some of it as well. We're in the like just now we're down to 82.
Yeah.
Like it was 93 or something today. At least so they claim. Your mother was clocking it at 104.
Right.
She was like, it's not a degree less.
Right.
But no, I mean it's one of those things that right now, even for us, the air conditioners are running. They're trying their best. We're doing everything we can. It's just that hot.
Exactly.
And for me, like I start getting wilty at 75. Like I'm basically lettuce.
Yeah.
But I get wilty at 75. By 80, I'm kind of toasty, and by 90, it's over. I'm just done. There's nothing I can do at night.
Right.
Like I'm just, lock me in a freezer. Like I'd be happier. I'll put on a sweater. It'll be fine. But no, I think you have to respect that for all people. I understand wanting the help and wanting to help. You also have to recognize that you can only do what you can, and people can only do for you.
Right.
And I think you almost have to treat it like, would you ask someone in a wheelchair to walk upstairs?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, if you can't do it, why are you asking someone to do it?
Exactly.
If you ask a deaf person to listen, you know what I mean? Like,
I know what you mean, but I'm like, why hasn't this dude figured this out? Like, you don't do heat, I don't do cold. Like, it is hot. I am like, go, go, go. Let's go do something. And you're like, have you lost your mind?
Go enjoy that. I'll be over here beside this air conditioner. Is there air conditioning? Why don't you go pre-start the car with the air conditioning?
Yeah, because I'm very, like yesterday, I'm like, it is hot. It is sunny. Let's go to the lake.
Yes. So you brought me my ice water at the point in which it looked like I was about to hit the floor, and it was like, okay, we'll go now. So
like cool him down internally. And this is a reminder, please, please, please drink your water. I don't care what flavor it is. I don't care if it's got caffeination in it. Fluid is fluid.
And as a reminder for heat stroke, if someone does start to experience that, if they do start to collapse, do not immediately drag them indoors into the air conditioning. Try to get them to a shady spot first. Try to cool them down slowly. You can cause shock. Be very careful with that. Check in on your elder neighbors, especially those that are like, we don't need no air conditioning, and make sure they're okay.
Exactly.
Because it's a dangerous time of year.
Right. All right. So the poll is up. Be sure to vote whether you think you're an asshole. They're an asshole refusing to do yard work in that temperature.
Heat wave.
Heat wave.
Yes.
All right. So with that, we do have a question. We will take the question.
Oh, okay. So, let's see. Where's that date? Where it is?
Right below it. They need they need to learn to calm down because it could take me 2 hours to get to a question if I want to. Anyone on-demand services, call the on-demand line.
There we go. So Maria, October 25th of 92. How many kids do you feel I will give birth to? I am 32 years old.
Yeah, 2.
2.
Like you've scheduled.
2.
All right. Yes. All right, let's move over to Psychic subreddit. This one's an interesting one.
All right. So our psychic gives us, I can see people's auras, but don't see colors within them. Like I mentioned in the title, I can see auras, but I do not see color within them. Is this normal? I've been on a spiritual journey for the past, I would say, 4 to 5 years, and I've started noticing that I can see auras without even really necessarily trying. But the problem is, I always thought that auras were associated with a color, but all I see is basically the energy, but no color associated with it. Just kind of clear if that makes sense, or would that be considered white?
No, that would be considered life force. They're not seeing an aura, they're seeing the life force. They're misclassifying what they're seeing.
Okay.
Yeah. And, this is very common that you can see a light force, although you may want to check with your doctor, your eye doctor, to make sure you don't have glaucoma or something. But very often, people can begin seeing life forces before they see auras. Some people have a lot of life force, so their chi, life force energy is very big, or they have very slow, very small life force. And that's the start to seeing auras, but you've got to practice to get into the next field of vision there, which is the aura energy.
All
right.
Very cool, very cool. So on the way to auras, you're just seeing life force.
Great.
Awesome. Okay.
All right. What did Huntress have to say here?
I had to explain to someone I have an astigmatism, not seeing just auras all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because a desk does not have an aura unless it's sludge covered. A lamp will not have an aura. It's sludge covered. A human will have an aura. A human will have a life force. A tree will have a life force.
So only with your living object.
Yes. They have to have a life vibration. Not dead.
There you go.
Yes. All right. Let's hop over and see how that poll is.
All right, how's the poll going?
We will see. Ooh, this will be interesting. And there we go. Looking at the poll that is now closed, the results are 66% say no, you are not the asshole. 33% say, however, you're all shitty.
Okay.
So, not the asshole, but you're very shitty. All right, guys.
Well, at least
So exactly. So with that, let's flip the banner. There we are.
Oh, before I take it away, you should remind. So where are you going to be this weekend? And where will you be?
Oh, all right. Let's talk about this week's schedule because it's a very busy schedule. Tomorrow night, I have a very special coffee shop that is going to be just an interview. So it'll be the interview. It will be at 8 o'clock here on the channel you're watching. Make sure you do the likey, the subscribey, all the fun stuff. Then Friday at 9 p.m. we have Mountain Bears, and then at noon on Saturday I will be at CLS for Psychic Saturday. If you want to pre-book, go into my website, hit the appointment button, hit CLS Psychic Saturday. Make sure you're booking a physical appointment. If you're booking virtual, it will not be the same. Yes.
Right. So
Alrighty.
yeah, those are in-person appointments.
Yes.
And so yeah. So
Correct.
I will go ahead and take that away then.
Mm-hmm.
So of course we want to thank Beverly Walker, Mika G, Brenda, Joan Owen, Shannon C, Shannon D, Lady Gwendolyn, Caitlin Bell, Devin, and Bella. If you'd like to learn more about us, the show, or how you too can become a Patreon sponsor and receive all the wonderful benefits our baristas receive, please visit us at pcspnetwork.com.
Yes. And come say hi. Come say hi in the evening when it's slower so I can say hi to you. Like, I'm really sorry. I know Huntress has come and seen me a couple times and it's been like, hi, bye. And I really hate
At best. At best.
At best.
It's okay. We talk. It's fine.
Yeah. Okay, so you get Joseph instead of me if you come early in the day and don't have an appointment or don't want a reading.
Well, yeah, pretty much.
Yep.
But usually by like 5, unless someone's pre-booked to 5 or later. If you really want to do a walk-in, that's your best time.
Yes.
Or if you just want to visit, that's a great time too.
All right, so we got the question of how to book an appointment. This is how you do that. You go to this website. You click the appointment you want. If you're international, I highly recommend you use Zoom. Book a Zoom appointment. If you don't want to book an appointment or the appointment slots that are available do not work for you because you may be in a different time zone, all my networks, there's a button that says on-demand services. Click those, use those.
Yep, and those are appointments with Aeson. I do not do readings.
Yes. Joe doesn't do readings.
It would be a horrible reading.
Well, no, I've been wanting you to get into the non-psychic readings. Numerology, astrology.
No. No. I'll turn over some tarot cards and tell you what they are, or you're on your own to figure out what it means.
Okay. Again.
Like, I don't know. It's good luck with that.
Yes. Yeah. Well, thank you, darling. That's very considerate of you. All right, guys. We will see you later. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Buckle up, y'all. It's time to drop. dry.